Beast Wars Season 3, Episode 11, Other Victories. Now, this is a really good episode, leading into the two-part finale, leading into the end of this series. You have to have something crazy go on, and I think this is probably one of the best episodes that they could have possibly done, leading into a series finale. And what we get to see is the return, which I was super happy to see this. I wish it happened in a different way, and I'll kind of explain that. But we actually get to see what happened to Airazor and Tigatron. They actually do show up, and I was really worried that that would be one of those things that was unfortunately left, unfinished. And they come back in this episode, and I was so happy to see them. And it starts off with these crazy alien creatures. They're known as the Vox. And so they're basically two big heads. They're just two big heads. They got like little tendrils floating off the back. They just float around and it's like wavy hair. That's really it. They're just big heads. So they're like way off in distant space, and they're talking, and it's like, things have been a little crazy. The time stream is getting kind of effed up. We got, Transformers on Earth. We got Megatron. He's just kind of ruining every single thing about time. He almost succeeded. So we need to figure something out, and we need to find a way to stop Megatron from ruining the time stream any further. We need to get rid of him completely. So what they do is use the spark of Tigatron and Airazor to make a new Transformer called Tigerhawk. And it was super cool. The only problem with that is it was just that one character. It wasn't the two of them anymore. And I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. I was hoping that they would basically infuse them with more power and send them, the actual characters, back. Yeah. But they fused them together to make one new Transformer. And they actually used the voice of Tigatron, which is another thing. I was like, man, I kind of wish they did like a weird blending thing where it was both the actors doing the voice. I would have loved that, to be totally honest, just to at least hear, the actress of Airazor come back, for the final couple of episodes. I don't know if something might happen where we actually see both characters individually actually speak in the last two episodes of the series, but for this one, it was the voice actor of Tigatron. And Tigerhawk, cool looking character, by the way. Like he was really big, and of course they blend the elements together of Airazor and Tigerhawk. Even his face, he has like this purple, it's almost like a little helmet that's a part of his face, and one side is like wings, which are meant to represent Airazor, and the other side is like little imprints of a tiger's face. The lines, the stripes. I couldn't think of the word stripes. So I thought that was kind of cool. It was almost like eyebrows, where it's like, okay, this eyebrow is for Airazor, this one's for Tigatron. So I like that. And then there are other little things where it's like, oh, that side's a little different than this side because of this. But really cool. It has like missiles all over the freaking place. He can fly, transform, and he's kind of like Silverbolt, where he can run but also fly. Had like a weird thing where he did like this, and the missile was like underneath the arm. I was like, that's such a weird way to have to shoot a missile. But I was like, the character looks cool. And even before coming down to Earth, Tigerhawk is basically a straight up space missile. Like they send the Vox send Tigerhawk through space, and he's flying down. He's flying down to Earth. Everyone's trying to figure out when the world's happening. The Predacons, of course, are in a bit more danger because the Vox want to destroy Megatron. So Tigerhawk is sent down like a missile coming from space, and it's flying right towards the Predacon base, and everybody's going nuts. It's like, what do we do? What do we do? And Megatron's like, abandon ship. Like they have to take off. And at first it's like, get to battle stations. That they still have Sentinel and everything, so they set up the shield and all that stuff. And Tigerhawk coming in is so powerful, it disrupts the systems, and it destroys Sentinel. It like basically shuts down everything, and so they have to abandon their base. And Tigerhawk comes down, destroys the whole thing, blows it to hell. Everything's gone. Their base is gone now, and so the Predacons are just kind of out wandering. And so, of course, Rat Trap is the first one to be super happy. Like, all right, they destroyed, the Predacons, everything's fantastic, and everyone's super mad at him. He's like, what the heck is, like, what is wrong here? And so then they see Tigerhawk come out, and Tigerhawk is dealing with Megatron, and Optimus is like, all right, like, tell Cheetor, because he was already out. He's like, tell Cheetor to get to those coordinates, but don't engage. And he's like, I hope I get there in time. And so Rat Trap is kind of like the exposition moment in this episode, because that's how we get the information. He's like, what is going on? Like, what am I missing? Why aren't we happy that this new Transformer from wherever it is about to just blow up Megatron? And then they have to explain it to him, like, well, if they destroy Megatron, they destroy the time stream. Like, even though it would be good to get rid of, all the Decepticons, it would still screw up the time stream, and it could mess up, what Cybertron even is today. So it's one of those crazy things, which is kind of funny. They're definitely right, because with this going with the G1 continuity, the Autobots stay on Earth, but when they go from Season 2 of G1 to the movie, the original Transformers movie, they skip a bunch of time, and the Decepticons are the ones that kind of brought Cybertron back to life, because that's where they basically made their base at Cybertron, and then the Autobots stayed on Earth. So, in an odd sense, they're right. I mean, if there were no Decepticons, obviously they could just go right back to, Earth, or back to Cybertron and do it themselves. But it would just change too much. It's like, that still screws up the time stream. Like, it is what it is, and we need to maintain that. So, that's how we get our information. Like, it's still important, so we need to, oddly enough, save Megatron, because if they destroy him, he has the spark of the original Megatron inside of him, and it'll really screw up time permanently. So Megatron ends up getting there, or Optimus ends up getting there to help out Megatron. Excuse me. And so it's like, if you destroy him, you'll really screw everything up. And unfortunately, things don't work out in a simple way where Optimus is like, hey, he has Megatron's spark inside of him, you can't kill him. He just says, if you destroy him, you'll destroy the timeline. Super vague, with no actual definition, like a bunch of stuff in TV. So it leads to a misunderstanding where Tigerhawk is like, interference won't be accepted. And somehow he, like, opens up the Earth and just, like, drops Optimus into it and then closes the Earth back up. I was like, I don't know how that happened, but that was actually kind of cool. And then Cheetor ends up dealing with Tarantulas, because he gets knocked out when Tarantulas, like, hits him with basically like a spider web gun. It hits him and then it explodes into a web over him, and it knocks him out. And so Tarantulas is also able to take out Tigerhawk because he uses, like, the little spider bots. And they're, like, poisonous, I guess, and they hit him and stuff all over. And then they do some really silly stuff where he got hit in the nuts, because he was like this, like he bent forward, like grabbing his crotch. And as he was bent over, another one basically flew up his butthole, because that's what they did. And he was like, oh, and he screamed and stuff. I was like, they got really silly with that. But he hit him in the crotch, hit him in the butt, and then they hit him in the face, and it sapped all the energy out of him. And so Tarantulas takes Tigerhawk back to his base, and that's when we get the explanation from Tarantulas as to why he was trying to destroy the entire arc and kill off all the Autobots and all the Decepticons, because he's using some machine that he created to take, he's like, once I get the alien energy out of your system, you'll be under my control now and you'll work for me. And so when he's, absorbing or really extracting these alien creatures, the box, Tigerhawk is like, why would you do this? Like, we're trying to save the time stream. Like, why would you use me to destroy the Autobots and Decepticons? You'd kill yourself if you kill them all. And it was like, actually, you'd only destroy yourself if you're a descendant of the Autobots or Decepticons, but I am not a descendant of either of them. Neither are the, I believe he's called the Predicus Tribal, or Predicus Tribe, or something like that. The Predicus Council, that's what it is. And it was like, they're not descended from Autobots or Decepticons, and neither am I. And that was a really cool moment, because they don't really give an explanation, and I hope they give one in the final 2 episodes. But I like to think that as descendants of a third race, the only ones I really think of are the Quintessons, and they're all over the movie in, like, the 3rd season of the original series. But they're like these other creatures that are, like, in space, and they have, like, 4 faces and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's who he's who he's a descendant of, like the Quintessons, or if that's gonna get explained or what. But when he said that, I was like, that is so freaking cool to me. It's not just the Autobots and Decepticons. It's another, sentient robot race from a different planet, or maybe from Cybertron, but I would assume from a different location in space, and I just thought that was really awesome. So he's extracting extracting the Vox, which initially when the Vox first showed up, that's when I thought they were the Quintessons. I just figured that they were like the future versions of the Quintessons, because the Quintessons were actual, Transformers. But like their whole thing is that they were ancient creatures. So I was like, maybe it's like the future version of the Quintessons. They get rid of physical forms, and now they just float as singular heads, because they normally have 4 heads on their bodies, and they just spin the heads around to express different emotions. But I just thought maybe they've evolved since then, but they totally different. But he's extracting them, and at this time, Cheetor is actually getting to like his little base as well, because when Cheetor's knocked out, he actually sees Airazor and Tigatron, and they kind of show up in this spirit form, and once again giving Cheetor all the dream stuff. They basically wake him up, so he breaks out and he follows their floating sparks to Tarantulas in his base. So he gets to the base, he's able to beat Tarantulas, he gets Tigerhawk down, and what actually ends up happening is the Vox transfer from Tigerhawk into Tarantulas. And so this machine, which is meant to like absorb all this crazy energy, actually kind of overloads Tarantulas, because he doesn't have as much energy as like Tigerhawk had. So it actually blows him up. Once again, I can't speak to whether or not he died, because I always think somebody died from something. But if it's lava, which even Megatron defied that in the last episode, unless it's lava, it's hard for me to say they died. Even though it's going into the last 2 episodes, I still think he'll just be brought back together by his little spider bots. And plus, they have the question open, because even with it being the series finale, now there's a question of who is he descended from? Because, of course, anyone who was watching this when they were a kid they'd just be like, what the heck? Who is he from then? If it's not Autobots and Decepticons, what is he descended from? And like I said, my only theory currently is the Quintessons, and there are other races. If you've seen the old Transformers movie, they do have other stuff. I mean, I just thought of this, but maybe he could be an actual descendant of Unicron, who is like literally just his own thing. Like, I don't know what the deal with Unicron is, but maybe he's a descendant of Unicron. They did some weird stuff in the show where they've kind of brought him back a little bit and some stuff like that. So it could be like, energy or something from Unicron was created to make descendants of Unicron, and of course they won't be as powerful. But I don't know. I hope the answer is given. I assume it will be, because now there's the big question of, if you aren't descended from an Autobot or a Decepticon, who are you a descendant of? So I thought it was really great. Basically everything comes together at the end. It's like, alright, Megatron did escape. He didn't end up getting killed by Tigerhawk. Optimus does survive. He like breaks out of the ground. He's totally fine. Like, I know I kind of skimmed over that, but really they have a scene where his hand like bursts out of the ground. It's like, okay, Optimus is alive, and then he doesn't really do much after that, because Cheetor ends up being the one to save Tigerhawk, and Megatron already escaped at that point. So it's like, we're glad to have you back. They basically with the creatures being taken out of Tigerhawk, it's like, okay, some of Tigatron and Airazor has returned a little bit. It's like, I kind of remember this place. I'm home. And it's like, things have really changed and stuff. And it's like, but I kind of remember it. I'm glad to be back. I don't remember everything, but I remember, parts of it. So it's like, either way, whether you remember or don't, we're really happy to have you back. And so Cheetor, Optimus, and Tigerhawk are now kind of bonded together. So they're headed back to base. And then it ends on just like a side profile of Megatron by himself. So that's where it ends, and it's going into the last 2 episodes of Beast Wars. I'm really sad to get to the end, but I'm super excited at the same time. Like, I know a little bit how it ends, but there are a lot of characters that are still there, and I don't know exactly how everything plays out for every single character. But I'm super excited to get into these last 2 episodes. Of course, if you guys have any comments about this episode or anything Transformers in general, please put your comments down in the comment section below. Going into the last 2 episodes, of course, hope you guys are excited for that. But as always, thank you guys for checking this one out.